if you ban the guy or not. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors. I think they say like statistically you should always go with rock. Or maybe so there's a game theory thing about so say you and a friend have to pick the same number, and if you pick the same number, you both get $1,000,000. What number should you pick? So Carmine, I'm thinking of a number. You need to think of the same number, and we both get $1,000,000. What number would you pick? There's a correct answer.
Do I tell you right now?
Yeah, just tell me, and I'll
69?
tell you. You should have picked one. You're trying to get $1,000,000.
Why one?
One is the most common, is the most common answer. One is the most common answer. When surveyed, think of a number and put it down. The most common number is one. That's what most people say.
Cranog man got one. Left of you. Everyone got one but me? Fuck you guys. Yeah. Bans for all of you. Fuck you.
Now the second best answer is I think 7, and the third best answer is 3 or something. Now
7, yeah. I thought 7
now there's another game theory question about, okay, think of a number, and if you are one higher than your opponent, you get $1,000,000. But if you are anywhere else, you get nothing. Okay. So, you say, okay, I just have to be one more than my opponent. So if I pick 1,000,000, I'm going to overshoot. So I'm not going to pick 1,000,000. So, but I can't pick 1 because that's the lowest, but I can pick 2. But he's thinking that 2, so he would pick 2, so I should pick 3. But he's probably thinking that 2, so I should pick 3, and he should pick, so maybe I should go 4. And so it turns out the most common answer when given that is 8, which means the correct answer is 9. Which means because the most common answer would be 8, you should choose 9 to be won over. And that's the thing with rock, paper, scissors, right? It's the same thing. What should I choose? If they're going to choose rock, if rock's the most common, then I should choose paper. But he might know that I'm going to choose paper, so I should choose scissors.
Is that your game theory?
I mean, those are actual game theory tests that professors, academics Nobel Prize winning academics have studied. There's a guy named Thomas Schelling who won the Nobel Prize. He used to research these sorts of things. They're pretty interesting sometimes. I had him for a class, and he told me this fascinating story about so today, let's say you're meeting your friend in New York City, we've got phones, we can find each other. But the question is how do you find each other before you had phones? A lot of young people don't know this, but we used to choose meeting places a lot. And so in New York City, the meeting place back in the day was the Lion's Head at Union Station or something. And everyone used to meet there. And so there, and he told this, now there's a story okay, if you had to meet somebody in New York City and you couldn't communicate with them, where would you go to meet them? And the surveys now are top of the Empire State Building. That's where you'd find them. I don't know where they are in the city. They don't know, but the most common place to try to run into them is the Empire State Building. But he told a funny story about he's old. I went to New York City to meet his friend, and he goes to the guy's apartment. He knocks on the apartment. It's the middle of winter. It's super cold. And he knocks on the guy's apartment, and he's not home. And he's like, fuck. Here I am in New York City. I don't know where my friend is. He doesn't know where I am. How do I communicate with him? And he sat down on the step, and he's just well, I've got to figure this kind of thing out. What's the logical thing? How am I going to contact my friend? And he's like, okay, well, the way you contact people, you send messages, is Western Union. So he called Western Union. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to send a message. I'd like to send a telegram to my friend, but I I don't know where he is. What should I, and the woman at Western Union's like, well, you can use a service called Left Messages, where we will keep a telegram here, and then if he calls in, we'll tell him the telegram. And they're like, oh, that sounds great. I'll do that. Yeah. Because I figure my friend will come to the same conclusion that the way to contact people is through Western Union. So he's like, this is great. I'll leave a message for him. Okay, great. What's your name? And he's like, my name's Tom Schelling. And she's like, oh, Tom Schelling, we actually have a message for you. It was from his friend. It was a true story. Like how these like fucking crazy, like, I don't know, like these these game theory things go, where people can come to the same conclusions. Huh. Will you ever play the first Game of Thrones game? It was written by George, so it has a few could be spoilers, like fire priests talking to each other through the flames. Carmine, do you know about this game?
No, actually. And Freddie, if you're still there, do me a favor, brother. Tell me the name of the game in the stream chat, or just send me a link to it on Twitter. Just tag me, because I'm actually genuinely curious about this. Is he talking? I wonder if he's talking about the Game of Thrones RPG from like eons ago, which I have it downloaded. Um, it's like D&D, but Game of Thrones. So let me see if Freddie. I'm actually genuinely curious. Where you at, Freddie? I can send it to you, by the way, Preston, in
Okay.
a PDF
Yeah, no,
format
no,
if you need it.
it's interesting though. I once won 10,000 yen in a rock paper scissors competition simply because I was less drunk than everyone else and realized a pattern. It's true if you do pay attention. Some people are like rock every time kind of people, and stuff like that. So, Preston, did you pick rock? I don't know what I do. I think I probably am a paper man, um, which is because I figure that most people pick rock. So I don't know.
Oh, it's the fucking no. Disregard that fucking game. That game is dumb. It's there's a game